There's a lot of shit being talked about right now, but I can't wait to put him to sleep on the night.
I'm ready one fight and tomorrow. And the rematch. And the street fight. I'm ready.
Bare knuckle.
Tomorrow, maybe right now. Not boxing gloves, but it's street.
Alexander Usyk absolutely destroyed Daniel Dubois over his latest call-out, and he did it with the kind of sharpness only a true champion can deliver. Usyk didn't just respond, he reminded the world of Dubois' biggest weakness, the very flaw that has haunted him throughout his career. Usyk didn't mince words as he pointed out the upset.
Do you think he's a better fighter now than he was the first time you fought?
Maybe, yeah, maybe, because a lot of years, 2, 3, yeah. Now I think Daniel grow.
And do you think
like a boxer, like a man?
Yeah. Does he deserve this opportunity, or is there someone else more deserving? Joe Parker maybe, or does Daniel deserve his shot?
Yeah, I think Daniel deserve, because Daniel from UK. It's interesting for
that Dubois had folded under pressure against Joe Joyce and literally went down on one knee when facing him. The Ukrainian master technician made it crystal clear, when the pressure is on, Daniel Dubois crumbles. This wasn't a casual observation, it was a brutal reality check. Usyk highlighted what many fans and insiders have long.
I'm ready one fight and tomorrow. And the rematch. And the street fight. I'm ready.
Bare knuckle.
Tomorrow, maybe right now. Not boxing gloves, but
Long believed that Dubois doesn't have the mental steel required at the top level, and just when Dubois might have hoped the criticism would soften, Usyk took it a step further. He declared that he was ready to face Dubois in a bare-knuckle street fight anytime, anywhere. No gloves, no rules, just raw fists and heart. That kind of statement doesn't just showcase confidence, it screams absolute dominance.
I want to get my rematch and, put the wrong right, and, God bless, and just...
Usyk made it clear that even without the comfort of a boxing ring, he would break Dubois down the same way he's already done. Meanwhile, Dubois continues to beg for a rematch, but his words ring hollow. He talks about putting things right as though a do-over will magically erase the flaws that Usyk exposed.
The fact that he's still belly aching about it is the fact that he's still trying to convince himself that he won, which he clearly didn't. Really, that shows a lot of delusion on his part. I mean, listen, when you lose in a fight, never mind a world title fight, when you lose in a fight, full stop, the best thing to do is to dry your tears and crack on.
Yet nothing about his game has changed. Against Usyk, he froze. Against Joyce, he folded. Talking won't save him now. The reality is Usyk already made him quit once, and the boxing world isn't convinced Dubois has the tools or the mentality to change the narrative. Boxing insiders have been just as blunt. Former world champion Duke McKenzie said exactly what most fans are thinking.
Go with what his manager said, what Usyk's manager said, Aegis. Aegis came out, he said, this time we're not fighting Daniel the boy, we're fighting Daniel the man. And I think that's the difference. Since that Usyk fight, which he was an underdog going into, and he showed that his punch power and hurt.
Dubois is delusional. He's lost fair and square twice, McKenzie said, yet he's still crying robbery. Real fighters, he pointed out, take their losses on the chin and rebuild. Dubois instead seems stuck in denial while Usyk moves on to bigger, tougher challenges. This is the same cycle all over again. Dubois cries robbery rather than facing his shortcomings. He talks about throwing the kitchen sink at Usyk, but those who understand the sport know that desperation alone doesn't beat a fighter of Usyk's caliber. Usyk's chin, his composure, and his ring IQ are simply on another level. Swinging wildly and hoping for a lucky shot won't get the job done against a man who reads his opponents like an open book. That's why analysts aren't buying Dubois' excuses. They understand that the gap in class between these two fighters is far too wide. Adam Smith's breakdown of the fight cuts right to the heart.
I thought he shook Dubois as well at the end of the second round. I thought Daniel did really well in the third round actually to come back and landed a few right hands, but they were sort of partially blocked. Usyk never really gets hit flush. There was that other sort of low blow type body shot, exactly like the one in Poland, which they sort of shook off. And yeah, unfortunately, Daniel was trying to catch him with the right hand, and it was the right hand that led to the end for
the matter. Yes, Dubois had a brief flurry of activity in the third round, but even then, Usyk's defense was airtight. Those right hands Dubois landed, They were partially blocked and never once troubled the champion. Smith also noted how Dubois flirted with another borderline low blow, a repeat of the body shot controversy from their previous fight. It wasn't strategy, it was frustration. Usyk, calm and composed as always, never lost control. He was reading Dubois like a chess master, setting traps and waiting for the perfect moment to flip the momentum. The same right hand Dubois kept trying to land ultimately became his undoing as Usyk dismantled him with clinical precision. This wasn't about bad luck, it was a clear demonstration that class always tells. Against a master like Usyk, desperation and wild shots don't close the gap, they just speed up the inevitable. The brutal reality wasn't lost on Dubois' fellow professional.
He's the best of our generation by far, he has to be. He's beat everybody, he's literally beat everybody. You could say he's not beat Wiley, you could say it's Thomas, still to come, Parker. He's beat everybody. Daniel Dubois for me, Daniel Dubois was poor tonight. I know we're not getting onto that yet, but he was poor tonight. But he's beat Fury twice, he beat Joshua twice, he mopped up at cruiserweight. He's done it all. Yeah, there's nothing really much else to add. He's one of the best of all time.
Either. Dave Allen, known for his unfiltered honesty, put it bluntly, Alexander Usyk is on a level all by himself. Allen pointed out that Usyk has beaten the best across 2 divisions, cleaning out the cruiserweight ranks before moving up and dominating heavyweights like Anthony Joshua. Dubois, in Allen's view, was poor tonight, and Allen was being generous with that assessment. When you stand across the ring from one of the greatest fighters of this era, there's no room for weakness. Usyk's skill set, movement, and mental toughness completely shut Dubois down. That's why Allen ranks Usyk among the all-time greats, not just because of the belts he's collected, but because of how consistently he makes world-class fighters look ordinary. Allen didn't sugarcoat his criticism of Dubois either. He flat-out called him out for quitting. After taking the finishing shot, Dubois got up at the count of 10 and simply walked back to his corner, showing no visible signs of being physically devastated. That image speaks volumes. This wasn't about a lack of toughness alone, it was about—
Count of 10, and he walked straight past Usyk, straight to the corner. He was completely fine. I think, and you know what, it's horrific to say I've quit. It's not horrific to say I'm quit. I'm chairman of the quit committee. I'm top quitter, I guess. Anyway, he quit, yeah, he did.
About will. Usyk broke Dubois mentally, and Allen, the self-proclaimed chairman of the quit committee, knows the signs better than most. This wasn't a fighter dragged into the abyss by an unstoppable force. It was a man who had nothing left to give and chose not to continue. In championship boxing, that's unforgivable. Usyk's relentless pressure and precision dismantled Dubois round by round, and when the moment of truth arrived, Daniel didn't rise to the occasion. Many now question whether Dubois even deserves another chance at a fighter as mentally unbreakable as Usyk, and Allen wasn't alone in that sentiment. Fellow heavyweight Martin Bakole delivered an equally scathing assessment. Before the fight, Bakole had predicted that Dubois wouldn't survive 5 rounds if he came in with the same approach. That's exactly what happened. Dubois brought nothing new to the table. No adjustments, no meaningful jab, no evolution in his style. Usyk exploited every single flaw. Bakole bluntly stated that Dubois deserved the knockout, and it's hard to argue otherwise.
I said it before the fight, even today, that Daniel Dubois would never pass 5 rounds if he kept boxing like the same way he boxed last time he fought Usyk. But he did the same. There was no jab, nothing changed. He deserved the knockout because he never changed something like
Usyk has faced elite opponents at both cruiserweight and heavyweight, constantly adapting and evolving. Dubois, by contrast, looks stuck in neutral at this level. Bakole's conclusion was stark. Refusing to evolve is career suicide. Usyk didn't just beat Dubois physically, he exposed him strategically and mentally. Until Daniel learns how to adapt and overcome adversity, these nights will keep ending the same way, beaten and searching for excuses. Ajit Kabayel was similarly awestruck by Usyk's performance, and who could blame him? Every jab, every right hand was thrown with purpose, breaking Dubois down piece by piece. Kabayel noted how Usyk made Daniel look completely out of his depth, landing clean while Dubois barely mounted any defense. That's what separates elite fighters from the rest. Usyk doesn't just attack.
Performance from Alexander Usyk, he stopped the fight early, but I say this before, Daniel Dubois makes so much pressure, too much pressure, he not control, and every jab, every right hand is too strong, and he not defends himself, but you see the result, Alexander Usyk stopping fast.
Did it surprise you how early Alexander got the stoppage?
Yes, before the fight, I never say this he come to stop him so early, but after the first round, I say the first The fight will never be more than 6-7 rounds.
He dismantles. Cabello even suggested that Usyk would stop you fast, and that's exactly what happened. Dubois couldn't cope with the precision, timing, and ring generalship. It wasn't just physical domination, it was a masterclass in control, where Daniel looked like he didn't even belong in the same ring. When other heavyweights praise Usyk this emphatically, it speaks volumes about his standing in the sport. Tony Bellew's comments about Dubois were brutally honest and echoed what fans have been saying for years. Bellew pointed out that Dubois landed just one decent body shot in the entire fight, and even that had no real impact on Usyk. After that, Daniel had nothing else to offer, no combinations, no adjustments, and no signs of pushing through adversity. Bellew's observation that the real Daniel doesn't want to fight stings because it's true. When the going gets tough, Dubois folds. We saw it against Joyce, and we saw it again against Usyk. That mentality simply doesn't survive at the top level of heavyweight boxing. Usyk, on the other hand, thrives in those moments. He's a fighter who becomes stronger as the pressure mounts, breaking his opponents physically and mentally. Bellew's comments underline a harsh truth. Dubois can...
He landed one decent body shot the whole fight, to which Usyk tapped his belly and just said, "What was that?" And then there was zero else coming back. And that's, in my opinion, that's the attitude and that's the mentality of a guy that when the going gets tough, he doesn't want to fight. And you can never change that.
Talk about a rematch all he wants, but until he changes who he is at his core, nothing will be different. Bellew also heaped praise on Usyk, and his words couldn't be more accurate. There's no one who's going to beat him, Bellew said, and with every performance, that statement becomes harder to dispute. Usyk has evolved into a near-perfect heavyweight, adapting his style and physicality with pinpoint precision. Against Dubois, Usyk even adjusted his weight specifically for the fight, knowing Daniel's feet were slow. That's the sign of a master strategist. Usyk didn't just rely on his existing strengths, he altered his entire preparation to ensure Dubois had zero advantages. This is what makes Usyk so terrifying for his opponents. He prepares for every detail physically and mentally and leaves nothing to chance. Dubois, by contrast, brought the same flaws into the fight that he's always had, and Usyk exploited them ruthlessly. Bellew's assessment reinforces what we already know. Usyk isn't just winning, he's outthinking and outclassing everyone. That's why so many now believe there's nobody in the heavyweight division capable of...
One who's going to beat him. I just think technically, physically now, he's at the weight and he's adapted and he's adjusted. I mean, he's even adjusted and adapted his weight for this fight individually. I mean, he put on how much weight and slowed his actual feet down because Daniel Dubois...
dethroning him. Least of all, Daniel Dubois. Johnny Nelson perfectly summed up Usyk's dismantling of Dubois. He didn't just beat him, he stripped him of everything. Usyk neutralized Dubois' jab, smothered his power, and completely dismantled his movement. By round 5, Daniel's confidence had evaporated. Nelson described how Dubois was mentally checking out, fully aware he was being chopped up. That's the true definition of a champion's performance. Usyk imposed his will so thoroughly that Dubois had no answers. What makes Usyk even more impressive is how he carried himself afterward. Nelson highlighted how Usyk thanked the fans and remained humble despite delivering such a clinical dismantling. This duality, ruthless in the ring, respectful outside it, is why Usyk is so beloved by fans and feared by fighters. Meanwhile, Dubois' performance did nothing to silence his critics. Nelson's analysis reinforces the narrative that Daniel doesn't have the tools or the mentality to trouble someone as complete as Usyk. His breakdown of the fight was as clinical as Usyk's performance itself. Usyk's systematic...
going to beat him. I just think technically, physically now, he's at the weight and he's adapted and he's adjusted. I mean, he's even adjusted and adapted his weight for this fight individually. I mean, he put on how much weight and slowed his actual feet down because Daniel Dubois
took away the jab, nullified the power, stifled the movement, and drained every ounce of confidence. By the 5th round, Dubois wasn't strategizing anymore, he was simply surviving, thinking, "I'm being chopped up here." That mental collapse says it all. Usyk's ability to break down elite fighters round by round is what separates him from everyone else. And it wasn't just about dominance. Nelson also highlighted Usyk's humility after the fight, showing gratitude to the fans instead of basking in Dubois' humiliation. That's what true champions do. They dominate in the ring and inspire outside of it. Meanwhile, Dubois' excuses about being robbed only highlight the gap in class. Nelson's analysis leaves no doubt Usyk is a level above and Daniel has a mountain to climb before he's even in the conversation. Usyk's response to Daniel Dubois' call-out wasn't just words, it was a statement of absolute dominance. He's made it clear he doesn't fear Dubois in a ring, a street, or anywhere else. And why should he? In 2 separate fights, he's exposed Dubois' biggest flaw, the inability to adapt and push.
What he did to Daniel, it took away everything, all his attributes. He took away his jab, took away his power, took away his movement, took away his confidence, to the point where Daniel was putting his backside on the floor thinking, wow, we're only in round 5 here and I'm getting chopped up. And this guy
through adversity when the pressure mounts. Dubois can talk about throwing the kitchen sink all he wants, but swinging wild shots won't break down a master technician like Usyk. The Ukrainian isn't just beating opponents, he's dismantling them mentally and physically. That's why legends like Bello, Nelson, and Dave Allen are openly questioning whether anyone in the division can topple him. If a rematch does happen, the stakes will be massive. Another win for Usyk would only strengthen his claim as one of the greatest heavyweights of this era. A Dubois upset would completely rewrite the narrative. But honestly, after what we've seen, can anyone truly picture Daniel Dubois outthinking or outlasting a fighter as complete as Alexander Usyk? Do you believe Dubois can somehow shock the world? Or is Usyk simply untouchable at this point? Drop your thoughts and predictions in the comments, because one thing is certain, this heavyweight storyline isn't over yet.